Education is not merely about acquiring knowledge, it's a fundamental human right that unlocks doors to opportunities, empowers individuals, and drives societal progress. In a world where inclusivity and accessibility remain paramount, we believe in the inherent value of providing quality education to every single individual, regardless of their abilities. Education serves as a catalyst for change, breaking down barriers, challenging stereotypes, and fostering a more inclusive society. Hey everyone, welcome. This is Humanitarian Voice Podcast, where we explore stories of humanitarian work and advocacy worldwide. I am your host, Cindy, and I'm so glad you're here with us today. Today, we have another wonderful guest joining us for this episode, Luciana Barreiros, the founder of LearnAway. She's not only a talented educator and an entrepreneur, but also a compassionate humanitarian. Luciana and I work together within the same fundraising program on gender discrimination issues, promoting equality and inclusivity. So, welcome, Luciana.
Hi, Cindy. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. Glad to be here. And Barreiros is perfect. Great pronunciation. Yeah,
So it was right. I thought I
it was
mispronounced
right.
it.
It was right. No, it was right.
All right. So, Luciana, as a kick-off question, right? I'd like to hear about your interest or your drive behind your dedication to be part of the humanitarian efforts, please.
Of course. You mean what sparked my interest in all
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, honestly speaking, I believe it was my brother. Uh, his name is Jean. I'm not sure what the English pronunciation would be, but I'm gonna go with the Brazilian one. So his name is
Yeah.
Jean. He's 35 and he's autistic.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if you and people who are currently hearing us here have any sort of contact with people who have disabilities, especially mental ones, mental disabilities. It's challenging. So I remember how hard it was for my parents to deal with his disability, especially when he was a child, because medicine, doctors, all of these things, these areas in general, they weren't so advanced back then. So his official diagnosis took a while to be ready. So nobody understood like, why doesn't he eat rice? Because rice is, I don't know if you guys know this, but it's our most traditional side dish,
Mm-hmm.
So every Brazilian has rice, in their home. So for a Brazilian not to eat rice, my mom, my dad, they didn't understand why,
Mm-hmm.
which sparked, they from that they could tell that something was off.
Yeah.
So, and also I live in a city called Diadema. It's in the state of São Paulo. And here there is an institution called APAI, and it supports people with intellectual disabilities such as autism, Down syndrome, and others. And not only the students themselves, but also their families.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to understand what it was like for other families, not only mine, and other people as well with disabilities. So I became a volunteer there. I believe it was in 2011. And whenever there was any fundraising event or a celebration, such as the June party, which is a big deal here in Brazil, I
Mm-hmm.
would go there and help basically. I remember selling handcraft jewelry and other products the students made themselves. So, in summary, I believe what really sparked my interest was having a different perspective, regarding other realities and trying to contribute somehow. And of course, there are, still many other reasons, but that was the beginning for me, my brother.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing this story with me, Luciana. I've met a lot of people whose interests or reasons for being genuine humanitarians comes from personal stories like yours. Some may be naturally empathic individuals. It's truly inspiring for me to hear about your dedication to understanding and supporting individuals with disabilities, starting from your brother's experiences. I believe that Not everyone can have the same true empathy for this experience until they experience it themselves, you know? So, your commitment also to volunteering at APAI is very impressive and admirable for me. The organization's efforts to raise awareness to people with disabilities and demonstrate remarkable levels of compassion and empathy are really, really inspiring. So I think it is really important that these individuals are heard, recognized, and valued, not just as disabled person, quote unquote, but as valuable members of the society. Because I once heard someone saying about it's not just about learning disability, but it's also about teaching disability, right? So this somehow resonated with me because I believe that every one of us has their own unique abilities, which may not always be recognized or nurtured within our, let's say, traditional education systems. So,
No, no, sorry, just I would like to add something. I think if we think about it, everybody has a disability, right? Because
exactly, yeah.
this word is used, I don't know, in a very specific way, but it shouldn't be really. Because my brother, for example, he knows a lot of very specific things. For example, soccer. As you know, Brazilian soccer is a big thing here, our most traditional sport. So if you ask him, Jean, who scored the goal in the World Cup in the 1994 World Cup, he will know. He will tell you how. I
Yeah.
have no idea how he knows that, but I can't do that. So can you? I mean, people who are listening to us right now, can you, like, do you know how to do that? I really can't. So I have
Yes.
this disability. So what is a disability?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
Yes.
Normal people are boring. And again, what is normal anyway? Nobody is
Exactly.
normal.
Nobody's
No,
normal. Exactly.
there's no such thing as normal. Thank God, because I don't know, more normal is, I don't know, it sounds boring to me.
Yeah, I agree on that.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it's so interesting, yeah, to discuss on that. But Luciana, you mentioned about your decision to leave your previous employment, right? Could you please tell us more about that?
Of course. Well, 2022 was a very different and honestly challenging year for me. I believe the pandemic changed my perspective regarding many things. Maybe not only my perspective, but the world's population perspective. Probably, it changed many things for many people. But talking about my case specifically, so in 2022, yes, I made the decision to leave the school where I was employed. And I dived into self-employment for the
Mm-hmm.
first time of my life, which was extremely hard at
Yeah.
first because I have always had this stability that many people love. But I found out I don't like stability very much. And if I hadn't done that, I would never have found out about it. Great things happen when you get out of your comfort zone, but
Yes.
it's not easy. You have to think long and hard before doing that. Not so much though, because the more you think, the less you do. So just make a decision and stick with it. That's what I did. So I decided to open, I don't know if I can say my business because I don't have employees, it's only me. So I think the best term would be self-employed. So
Yeah.
I'm self-employed nowadays. And I did that, this choice. I made this decision because I realized that students were treated the same way, they were assessed at school, I mean, the same way. And their individualities, their learning styles weren't taken into consideration. And that really, honestly, it pissed me off at
Yeah.
the time. So I really believe that us as teachers and educators in general, everybody who works at a school, they should be worried about how to better teach, how to make students learn better. And that requires training, that requires, studying and lots of other things, structure, which I know it sounds perfect, but, in reality, it doesn't go that way. But anyway, I resigned in July 2022. and spent the following 6 months developing two courses. And the first one focused on conversation with a grammar boost. It's called Talk Away. And the other one was tailored for travel preparation, is called Triple A. And I also created an Instagram account. It was the first time for me as well, the many first year, to facilitate the dissemination of the language with the hope of reaching a wider Brazilian audience. And I'm gonna ask you a question. I know you are the hosting, but I just wanna know if then I will tell you the answer, of course. So, did you know, actually, do you know how many Brazilians speak English at any level? Any idea?
I don't have any idea about that, but I met few Brazilians and they don't. I know I understand they don't really speak good English, but I don't
Yeah,
know exactly how many percentage Brazilians speak good English. Tell me
5%. That's
that.
the answer.
5%. Oh my
5%.
God.
Brazil has 217 million people, and only 5% of those speak English at any level. And among these 5%, a mere 1% are fluent. So I am the exception here. I'm not the rule, which
Mm-hmm.
is shocking. And I check this number every year just to see if something changed, but it doesn't change. So of course this statistic underscores many factors. There are many reasons why this language gap exists. For
Mm-hmm.
example, social, economic, pedagogical factors. Just like any other developing country,
Yeah.
we struggle a lot with many different areas, and all of them impact other areas as well. And that is precisely what drove me, to create my own teaching methods, drawing from my prior experiences and informed by my studies in neuroscience and education, which, as I said before, I wanted to understand how I could teach better, or how my students could learn better. In order to do that, we need to understand how the brain works. So I know, to answer your question, all of these factors, made me make this decision, to leave the school I was working at, and trying to do things my own way based on the knowledge I previous had. Last year, actually this year, I
Mm-hmm.
decided that I want to stop, a little bit with the learning, with the teaching languages part, and move a little bit into the special education area, because again, because of my brother, and not only in Brazil, but for example, since we were talking before about developing countries and developed countries, the US is considered a developed country, but when it comes to special education, for example, there is
Yeah.
a huge shortage of professionals,
Yeah.
prepared to do this job, because it is a hard job. I don't know what it was, if you have this information about Indonesia, but for example, my mom has never ever considered enrolling my brother in a public school, because in public schools here in Brazil, there is no such thing as a special education teacher or a special education class. They're all put in the same classroom, and again, as I said before, treated the same way, you
Yeah.
know so it's not, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for the families, for the school, and let alone for the student.
Yeah.
They suffer, the teachers suffer because they have no idea what to do. I know I didn't, because I've had this experience when I was working at the school, until the other school, until 2022. I've had to deal with students with many different disabilities. I don't even know how to call them in English. I didn't know they existed, to be
Yeah.
honest. But of course, the most common ones: Down syndrome, autism, Asperger, which is similar to autism, but there are some differences as well. So they put the student there in the classroom, and they expected me to know how to deal with them, but I didn't. I, of course, I did what I thought was right and hoped for the best, basically. And it's what all the teachers I know do, because we don't have a specific training for that. So what I want to do in the future is to be a special education teacher, and I want
Mm-hmm.
to teach neuroscience. I want to teach, school psychology and all of these areas related to, how we can understand. We need to understand how the brain works, how the brains work, because there is no such thing as a unique style. Everybody has their own. We need to understand how specific students learn. My brother, for example, is autistic, but there is no such thing as, oh, all autists are the same. They are not. We, that don't have any, at least we think we don't have any mental disability, we are all different. So why would we think they are the same? They are not the same. So I
Yeah.
want to dive into that a little bit more, neuroscience, education, and how we can improve and inform education in order to be better professionals, better educators, and actually improve education as a whole.
Perhaps just something came to my mind suddenly, Luciana. I'm curious to know about the current initiatives from the government or any local authorities regarding their support for these special communities, such as students with special needs in this case. Do they provide sufficient support for real action and tangible assistance? Because it seems to me from your expression that there might be obstacles or setbacks hindering the development of an education system aimed at improving the lives and educational quality of these disabled children.
Yeah, honestly, they're doing nothing. If I'm being extremely honest with you,
Yeah,
nothing is being done, because it was like that when I was a kid, when my brother was a kid, and it still hasn't changed. So I am 29 years old. So it's been more than 20 years. The same thing has been happening, for years. So honestly, if we expect the government, the politicians in general to
hmm,
do something about it, I don't think it's going to happen, because the constitution is there.
yeah,
Inclusion is a very beautiful word. We need to include
yeah,
these children. The teachers need to include, the school needs to include. So inclusion is everybody knows this word, everybody
yeah,
uses this word, but if we pay attention and we try to focus our attention on what really happens inside the classrooms, because teachers are the ones who had, all of these troubles, really, who try to deal with many types of students at once. So again, I think the only people who are trying to do something the best way they can, are first teachers, but maybe we are not doing the right way because we don't know what the right way is.
yeah,
And of course, institutions like APAI. APAI has been going on, forever now. So
yeah,
it's a very traditional institution. When I say traditional, I mean not like conservative or any of that, but I mean, they have been doing this for a very long time and they are still doing it. So these are the people who change. You said it yourself, the independent workers, the independent institutions, NGOs, such as the UN, such as CGS Kenya. We need these people to make a difference. Without them, differences, nothing is accomplished, at least not the way it should be accomplished. So honestly, to answer your question, nothing is being done by the governments, by the
oh,
by the government, by the politician. We, common people are trying to change, what is not at all common. So it sucks, but it's also the truth.
yeah, it's really disheartening. Reflecting on my own experiences after now relocating to the Netherlands, I can't help but compare in terms of the inclusivity here to what I've observed back home. While Indonesia's national motto promotes unity and inclusivity, regardless of backgrounds or beliefs, the reality does not always match up, you know. So, however, here being in the Netherlands, I've experienced firsthand how inclusivity is not just a word, but it truly reflects in the society, at least in my opinion. So, this highlights the importance of the leadership and the authority figures to initiate change. In my country, for example, protest often result in arrest. So it feels like somehow it seemed like an impossible mission to make a change. Despite this, I think we should still maintain our faith in humanity because progress takes time, development takes time, both on a societal and individual level. As what we do also together with the CDS Kenya, it may seem like a small action, but I believe that if every single one of us do the same small action, the impact can be very much significant to the global scale.
There's always
Yeah.
something we can do, right? We think, oh, we have to do, in order for us to actually help, we need to be rich and donate. Not really. You can
Yeah,
donate your time, you can share something on social media, there's always something we can do. Like if you have something to give, just give it now. Don't wait, to make
exactly.
your million, to do this or achieve that. Just everybody has something to give. So just figure out what that is and do it.
Exactly. Wow, thank you so much, Luciana. Your story, your insights, and everything you have shared with us today have been truly enlightening for me. Appreciate you sharing your wisdom, your personal story as well, and I hope that it can also inspire many people who listen to this podcast. And that concludes our episode today. Stay tuned for more stories of compassion and advocacy in the episodes to come. Until next time, remember, kindness is contagious, so let's keep spreading it far and wherever you go.